Now we'll have the opportunity to hear from some of our presidential candidates who are here. The first on the agenda is actually Senator Santorum, but I don't really see him. Oh, he's outside. Someone. Senator.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back here in Nashua, and congratulations on having a great duo of speakers here today. And I just want to follow up, listening to them. Just want to follow up with the theme, which is don't let the national media tell you what to do and tell you how to do it. And that's what's going on in this campaign, and that's what's going on in all the debates. We've seen it. The national media has decided that certain candidates are the ones that you get to choose from, and others, well, just don't pay any attention. There's people behind the curtain, right? And that's what's going on. And here you have an example. You've seen it, how the national media basically tries to shape your viewpoint, and they're doing it in this race. I'll give you an example. 2 months ago, go back and look at your press clips. 2 months ago, this race was a two-person race. What was it 2 months ago? The two people, Mitt Romney and Tim Pawlenty. It was a two-person race. And then Michelle Bachmann gets in the race and says, oh, no, it's a three-person race. And then Ames, Iowa comes around and they say, oh, it's a three-person race, but now it's no longer Pawlenty, it's now Perry, Bachmann, and Romney. And then 2 weeks later, it's now a two-person race again. It's now Perry and Romney. In 2 months, the media has been wrong 3 times, and we just go along with it. That is not how it's supposed to work. And in fact, thanks to New Hampshire, one of the reasons I've stood up and been very vocal in opposing what Arizona's doing, in opposing what Florida's doing, in opposing these other states, is because the best chance for the best candidate to be selected are people in the states of Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina who actually pay attention and see this as a civic responsibility to make sure that they get a chance to select the best candidate. As you always know, the responsibility is on you, and I am not deterred at all by what I see going on in the media focusing in and sitting there and feeling like, you know, I have to buy a ticket to a debate sometimes when I'm actually on the stage at the same time because all the questions are flowing to 1 or 2 candidates. The bottom line is 4 years ago, if you go back and look at the polls in September of 2007, and the top 2 candidates were, by far, this was a race between 2 candidates, according to the national media. Who were the 2 candidates? Rudy Giuliani and Fred Thompson. Neither of them got a delegate, as far as I know. Why? Because you, here in New Hampshire, people in Iowa, people in South Carolina, didn't let the media tell you what to think. You paid attention to the debates, you went to events like this, and you listened to the candidates. And that's why I'm very, very encouraged by what's going on out there. We feel very good about coming out of Ames, Iowa, finishing 4th. I remember walking past one of the MSNBC booths, and Mike Murphy's just finished a commentary, and he said, Rick, I just gave an analysis of why 3rd place was bad and 4th place was good. And the reason was, and people here in New Hampshire probably don't know this, but Ron Paul, Michelle Bachmann, and Tim Pawlenty all spent well in excess of $1 million. In the month leading up to the Ames straw poll. Well in excess of $1 million. Close to $2 million for one candidate. I spent less than $100,000. If you look at the national media attention, the Gallup poll from January to the end of August, every single presidential candidate, every single one, has increased their name recognition. Now, why do you increase their name recognition on a national level? Because the national media is talking about you. There's nobody spending any money to get national media attention. You get it simply because the national media has paid attention to you and covered you and thought you were, quote, viable. Every single candidate has seen their name recognition go up except one. Me. Me. For 9 months, I've been out there. I've been in South Carolina more than any other candidate. I've been in New Hampshire more than any other candidate. I've been in Iowa more than any other candidate. And yet, we haven't gotten any media coverage. And yet, here we go to Ames, no media coverage. Every pundit says he has no chance of winning. Spent no money, and went out there and did this. Went in front of every group. I went to 50 cities in 15 days. And I said, Measure up me versus every candidate you've seen, and if you think the other candidate's better, if you think they have a better track record of getting things done in Washington, D.C., you think they've been a more authentic conservative, not only are they vote conservative, but they've led, and they actually know why they're a conservative, can go more than 1 or 2 or 3 questions deep into why they believe what they believe. If you want to look at their election record, I mean, I love Mitt Romney and Herman Cain, they're both great folks. But don't go up and say, I'm a businessman. I'm not a career politician. There's a reason for that. They lost. They lost their races. Had they not lost their races, they'd have been career politicians too. They just lost. And so when Mitt Romney lost in 1996 to Ted Kennedy, running to the left of Ted Kennedy, well, you can say, well, I'm not a career politician. It's not that you didn't try. And the same thing with Herman Cain, who lost in a Republican primary. I think you want someone who actually wins races to be elected to the presidency, particularly a candidate who wins races in a state that if we win the election. I just want a straw poll in Pennsylvania by a lot. Every poll in Pennsylvania has me running dead even or slightly ahead of Barack Obama in Pennsylvania. I won 2 elections in Pennsylvania. A state with over 1 million more registered Democrats and Republicans than we haven't won since 1988. And I won against a Democratic incumbent whose campaign was managed by James Carville and Paul Begala. And by the way, the issue in that race, health care. Clinton Care. He was the author of Clinton Care, the guy I defeated. And I won for re-election in 2000 when George Bush lost the state by 4. I won it by 5. So if you want to look at someone who's actually won races in key states, been an authentic conservative throughout the course of his career, didn't change parties when it became easier to be a Republican to win in the state of Texas than it was a Democrat, didn't change my policies once I left the state and decided, well, I can now be a conservative. I was a conservative in a state when it was impossible to be a conservative. And I got reelected. Why? For the same reason I just discussed. Because people look at me and say, you know what? He actually believes what he says. He's actually going to do what he says. He's not going to back down from what he says. He's a fighter. He's a scrapper. And I don't agree with him all the time, but I trust him. That's what we're looking for, aren't we, folks? We're looking for someone we can trust to vote for Washington and will do what he says he's going to do. Not because he tells you that this is what he believes, but because he lives what he believes. He's been there. He's done it. And it's in his heart. It's in his soul. He's not going to change because the Buffetts and the Winds are going to change. That's what I bring to the table. And I know the people of New Hampshire are looking for someone, not that's going to deliver them anything, but someone that they can trust, that's going to go to Washington and not be something different than what they happen to say because they're in front of a group of conservatives in Nashua. You've got that. Look at the record. You've got that in me, and no one else in this race has a record of that solid conservatism and success politically and getting big things done in Washington, D.C. I have it all, and that's why I need your help. Don't let Washington, don't let New York, don't let the money people who want a moderate to appeal to independence, don't let them choose for you who should lead this country in the most critical time in the history of our country. Thank you very much.